This is day 18. I'm reading Reader Come Home by Marian Wolf. This is pages 76. How we read. To be a moral human being is to be obliged to pay, a certain kinds of attention. The nature of moral judgment depends on our capacity for paying attention, a capacity that inevitably has its limits, but whose limits can be stretched. By Susan Sontag. The story of how our reading is changing is hardly finished. Jae-Ming Liu, Naomi Barron, Andrew Piper, David Olin, and Anne Mengen's group in Europe, scholars from disparate disciplines and countries, are addressing how the type of reading on screens that we are now accustomed to is changing the very nature of our reading. Few would dispute what the information science and reading researcher Liu finds that scheming is the new normal in our digital reading. Liu and various eye movement researchers have described how digital reading often involves an F or zigzag style in which we rapidly word spot through a text, often the left-hand side of the screen, to grasp the context, dart to the conclusions at the end, and only if warranted, return to the body of the text to cherry-pick supporting details. Some of the most important questions about the effects of such a scheming style focus upon whether there are differences in using and maintaining higher level reading comprehension processes. Naomi Barron's excellent meta-analysis of research on this indicates a mixed picture with regard to overall comprehension. Some of the most compelling studies concern changes in readers' grasp of the sequence of a plot lines, details, and possibly of the logical structure of an argument. The Norwegian scholar Anne Mengen is investigating cognitive and affective differences in print and screen reading in a program of research conducted with her colleagues Adrian van der Wiel, Jean-Loup Villet, Gerard Olivier, and Pascal Robinet. Mengen and her group asked students subjects to read and answer questions about a short story whose plot was deemed likely to have universal student appeal. A lust-filled French love story. Half of the students read Jenny, Mon Amour on a Kindle, the other half in a paperback book. Okay. The result indicated that the students who read the book were superior to their screen reading peers in their ability to reconstruct the plot in a chronological order. In other words, the sequencing of the sometimes easily overlooked detail in a fictional story appeared to be lost. I read this again. The sequencing of the sometimes easily overlooked details in a fictional story appeared to be lost by the student who were reading on a digital screen. Think what would happen in the stories of O. Henry if you scheme the details, such as the wife cutting and selling her hair to buy the watch fob for her husband while he was selling his beloved watch to give her a comb for her beautiful hair. What is hypothesized by Mengen and a growing group of researchers is that their findings are related both to the observed tendency in screen reading to encourage skipping, and browsing, and also to the screen's intrinsic lack of books' concrete spatial dimension, which tells us where things are. There is no resolution yet of how all of this affects students' understanding. Some recent studies find no significant medium-based differences in students' general comprehension, at least when a text is relatively short, while other studies, particularly by Israeli scholars, show more specific differences favoring print reading when time is taken into account. Liu raises the question of whether the length of the text might explain the different results among the studies done to date, and whether longer text would elicit more varied performances. What can be stated at the present time is that in the Mengen lead research, sequencing of information and memory for detailed change for the worse when subject read on a screen. Sequencing of information and memory for detail change for the worse when subjects read on a screen. Andrew Piper and David Olin argued that the capacity to sequence matters, both in the physical world and on the printed page, even if less on digital devices. In reading as in life, Piper insists human beings need a sense of the pathway, a knowledge of where they are in time and space, that when needed allows them to return to things over and over again and learn from them. Sometimes he refers to as the technology of recurrence. Okay, I think I should stop here. This is Minky, and please correct me if you can. Thank you.